Hey, welcome to episode 27 of O'Reilly O'Reilly. It's April 25th, 2024. And I always like to date these things because I figure I'm going to be looking back on it in a few years to laugh, to cry, to just watch the journey because it's been a journey. And today we're talking about clarity. And one of the things that triggered that, I just saw a video, Stan Lee, the guy that does Marvel Comics or one of them, DC Comics. I'm not sure which one, but he did Spider-Man. So I think that's Marvel. Either way, the interview was Stan in his later years on stage speaking to a group of people to tell them the story about how Spider-Man started. And they had just finished doing a superhero, and the editor said to Stan, we need another story. We need another superhero. So Stan went back and thought about it and watched a fly on the wall. And as he was watching the fly, he thought, wow, wouldn't it be cool for a superhero to be able to walk on walls and have superpowers? And so yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll make that superhero and I'll give him some personal problems to deal with. And I'll make him a teenager. So that was Stan's idea. He runs back into the editor's office the next day and the editor says, well, no, that's foolish. People don't like spiders and it's a teenager and he's got personal problems. He's a superhero. Anyway, the idea was squashed right there. Stan says they were finishing off a magazine. It was the last edition. The sales had dropped off over the last number of years. So this was the last edition and it didn't really matter what you put in it. It was going to get canceled anyway. So he put Spider-Man on the cover of the magazine and decided, this idea, it was a great idea and I want to put it out there. So anyway, he did it, kind of forgot about it. And then I guess back in the day, it's all about counting magazines and pages and hearing from distributors and everything before all the information gets back to you. So it was probably a month or two before they finally found or saw the sales numbers on that magazine. And they were terrific. Everybody was interested in Spider-Man. And once that news was out, then the editor came back into Stan's office to speak to him. And he says, hey, you remember that Spider-Man character we liked so much? And wanted to take credit for it too. But anyway, Stan's message to the crowd was don't let idiots tell you that your idea is no good because as an idea, it's probably never been done before, or it probably has, but not with the same enthusiasm or thought process or creativity that you can bring to it if it's your idea. So that's what he wanted to impress upon the people in the audience. And I don't know if it was at a school or what, but it was certainly appropriate for anybody. So if you have an idea, if you have a dream, and we always say, be careful who you tell your dream to because people will laugh, people will try and protect you and say, oh, don't do that to yourself. You're going to regret that. But if you don't, you're going to regret that. You're going to think about it all the time. And I'm reminded as a kid growing up, my mom used to buy greeting cards, boxes of greeting cards, and maybe she got the other kids to do it too in the family, my older brother and sister. But when it was my turn, it was like, well, I had to go around the block and knock on all the doors to see if anybody wanted to buy a box of greeting cards. And I never enjoyed it. And there was probably two or three ladies around in the neighborhood that would buy them. Excuse me. I don't remember doing very well. And I think I only did it for a year or two. And so that would have been just two trips around the block. That's all. But that was the first thing to get started in selling. And then moved on to newspapers and then got a job at the co-op packing groceries. Used to have big paper bags back then. All the groceries, you had to be careful how you stacked it because it would end up, the bread on the top or the eggs on the top and the cans in the bottom, right? And not too much and double bag some stuff and careful of the wet stuff. And anyway, They don't do that anymore either. Get to pack your own now, as far as I know, in most of the grocery stores. Um, but all that to say, when I worked at the grocery store, I had a good relationship with the managers and we all got along. It was a pretty good group of people to work with. But I'd always see the sales guys coming in from the different, Kellogg's or Kraft, or the sales representatives for those companies would come in and probably take the managers out to lunch, or, get the next promotion going. And I always thought that'd be a pretty cool job to have. And ended up spending 25 years in a career that I just kind of followed my nose for, and enjoyed the sales process and being a manufacturer's rep and sales rep on the welding side of the business. So um, I have kind of followed my dream along that line. And as I was kind of thinking about all that, I wanted to write down how many jobs I've had. And I could only come up with 31 different jobs that I've had over the past 50 years. Because I'm 60 now, so I probably was selling Christmas cards or greeting cards when I was 9 or 10 years old, I guess. So, so yeah, 31 different jobs, and 17 of those have come in the last 16 years. So, so there. That's that's a career that gets interrupted. And I'm an agent for change, I guess. I've always never been afraid of change, and took advantage of different opportunities within the company to move up, and then either get let go or quit. I don't think I was ever fired. I was laid off a couple times, laid off a few times. So I had 31 different jobs. I quit 13 of those jobs, got let go from 3, gave up on 7, but I outgrew them all. When you outgrow your job, you do the best you can. Especially if you don't like your job, and that's hard to say, easy to say, but hard to do. But if you don't like your job, you got to do it the best you can, and go the extra mile, and do the thing that needs to get done, and you will outgrow the job, and you will either be offered a position higher up, or you will attract a position of something else that you like will come along, and you'll have an opportunity to quit that one, join something else. But if you just kind of you hate your job and it's just getting you down, and you start speaking about it that way, in a negative way, and you just blah blah blah, and nobody wants to be around you, then that's a tough way to go. And it's a tough way to spend your career. And I hear people a lot saying, they're they can't quit. They afraid to quit, too much debt to quit, whatever the case is. But I guess I've never really been afraid of that. If I wasn't happy in a job, I quit. And sometimes I quit before I had another one. And finding clarity is, it's like, what is it you want to do? So, as a young kid, I figured I wanted that sales job. I had no idea what that job represented other than a little bit of freedom. And they always seemed to be having a great time. So couldn't have been that bad. Right. And as I pictured myself, I always pictured myself in a big city, um, you know, meeting people, different places, and having the freedom to travel and go places and meet people and run a business. And I guess I'm to that point now where it's like, okay, corporate lasted 24 years. I guess I was inside of a corporate job. And that would have been from 84. So I would have been early 20s, 21, 22 maybe, when I got into the welding career at the paper mill in my hometown. And 6 years of that, and then 20 years of sales beyond that. And then got let go. So So that's been, I guess, and then after that, I became an entrepreneur, and and so that's where the 17 other different jobs come in the last number of years. Um, you know, changing or leaving a company and moving on to something else interrupts your finances and everything as well. So, you got to be careful of your retirement package, as you get your hands on that, what do you do with it? So, financial advice is one of the keys that we're going to talk about a little, in a few minutes. But finding clarity is where we are right now. We're working on that. So, what is it you want to do? Like, I'm 60 years old, and I know that I want to have a business. I've tried, well, 31 different things, 17 of them just in the last 15 years, say. Not quite 15, yes, yet, but 2008, I finished in corporate and became an entrepreneur. So from that point, we uh, we were taking some workshops in real estate, trying to learn a little bit more about real estate, and ended up speaking to somebody that here in Alberta, uh, they can take homes. I guess they do it in many provinces, I guess, but first time I was ever aware of it was this particular workshop where this lady said, "Well, we did that for 5 or 6 projects, and they jack up the homes off the foundation, move them out of the city if they're in good shape still, and then resell them." So we hooked up with a guy that does that and did 3 projects, and we like to think we broke even, but we learned a lot, and it was pretty interesting way to go. So from there, that wasn't working out. I needed to get back to work, so I went back to the welding industry. It was like going back to kindergarten with the group I was with. I really didn't enjoy it. I lasted a month, so I quit that. And then I got back in with the real estate group that were building out a program to sell private real estate investments. Got involved in that. And then the Alberta Securities Commission clamped down on that, and that kind of evaporated. But I stayed in that business, went to work with Try More Capital. That was mostly funding for startups, pretty risky business, and wasn't that successful. But they got acquired by a company called Mackey Research, who was a brokerage firm, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and got into that just for the experience, but didn't really enjoy it. Then quit that. I was not quite a year in it, but I quit it. It wasn't for me. I knew I didn't like it. And then I joined TriView Capital. And TriView had a real good group, real good team of leaders and great deals, mostly real estate, some startup stuff. But um, most of the way through that, I guess, was pretty good. And then the last few years, like 17, 18, 19, things were just, there were no exits. Everything was getting delayed and hanging on. And it was just getting a little tougher to do business. The economy in Alberta had already kind of swung the other way and had been in a downturn for several years, and things were a lot tougher. So at that point, I decided to get into life insurance, figuring I could add that to my services for the clients on the investment side. But I didn't go through with it. Got my license, practiced it for a little bit, but hated it. And then had a chance to buy a book of business. So we incorporated, and with another guy that we were about to buy a book of business, and I couldn't do it. So I called them both up and said, "Hey guys, I'm sorry, I just can't do this. It's not for me." And they both understood. Then I got into some MLM, all while selling investments, but not focusing on anything, getting distracted way too often, through ACN, which was household services. So um, natural gas, electricity, phones, security, internet, all your home services. And I thought, wow, what a great service that would be. And of course, it's multi-level marketing. So it's, you bring people in to help you grow your business and so on and so on. And yeah, that didn't work out very well at all. Different group. we're running that. And anyway, got into some welding services for a contractor with the city. Just did a few odd jobs, but was hoping to kind of turn it into something bigger, but that didn't work out. Hooked up with a friend actually, and just a potential client, but we've become friends over the years, and built, manufactured a, well, I'll say it's a widget. Can't describe it. It's too hard to describe. Uh, Built a widget as a prototype, tried it out, got a contract to build 20, and thought, that's 20 of 100 per year. And it was like a $4,000 unit all told. And it didn't, they didn't sell any more than 20. So there was no further orders. So that kind of dried up. And then had an opportunity to, then started a Shopify store, e-commerce, drop shipping, right? Easy, set it all up and it runs by itself. No, no, there's a lot to that. And yeah, the stuff you see, I mean, it could be as simple as that for the very select few, but I we put a lot of time into that. I partnered up with another friend and we both worked on it together, and just went nowhere. So that was another lot of time to do that as well. And then, of course, social media marketing. I've been doing that for probably 4 years now, and I'll continue that. That's been a real learning curve, I'll say, and I'll continue with that. Got back into wealth management. Kind of stalled at that right now, and it's not sure which direction I need to take, but that's always very important, and it's prime. So also helping a friend with a gold project. So there's another opportunity, and still looking to do some different things around workshops and training and teaching people. So a couple of ideas around that haven't come to life yet. But yeah, all those things. Out of the 31 jobs, I quit 13, got let go from 3, gave up on 7, outgrew them all. And the advice that I would like to share today for anybody that has been listening: find a mentor. I did personal development for the last 3 years as well, just to try and create a more positive outlook. I was finding I was just falling into a real negative trap, and it wasn't just, the news, the economy, the guys I was hanging around with. It was like I needed to change. So recognize that. And I've spent 3 years learning, training, becoming a consultant for the Proctor Gallagher Institute is currently where I'm hanging my hat, if you will. And that's Bob Proctor. And he's been brilliant. He passed away a couple of years ago, but really enjoy all his teachings, and it's changed everything, the way I think. So it's built um, a foundation for me to kind of keep going and go forward, and just never give up, right? Don't give up on the dream. Doesn't matter what anybody tells you. So the advice today: find a mentor, much like Bob Proctor, Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, um, Brendan Burchard. That's the guy's name. Those were all good guys to listen to. Zig Ziglar, he's got some great books out there. Um, Number 2, find good financial advice. Now, if you're in the bank and you're getting some good financial advice, that's good. But, excuse me, um, the banks are very limited in what they can offer. So the bank's piece of the pie of the market is, that's a big bank. So the bank you're in is probably offering that and mutual funds, and there are way better ways to grow your wealth, and they're not risky. I mean, I've spent 10 years selling private investments, risky investments. And, some of them failed. And I had no control over that. Some of them did very well, and I had no control over that. But if I believed in it, I usually bought a piece of it as well. So when they failed, well, I'm failing with it. So my clients knew that, I hope, and I mean that's the risk you take of getting into private investments. And if you don't know anything about them, don't spend a lot of money on them. But I would advise you to find out about them. If you're curious, if you're too afraid and you zero risk tolerance, then don't bother with them. But it is a good way to um, enhance your money. But if it's risky, find somebody to talk to about it. And if they tell you, you know what, that's not a good idea. If they have made investments and they, like I've got experience in it, I can help you find a good investment. Um, but to find somebody that has never made an investment tell you no, it's too risky. Well, what's the value in that? You might be leaving so much money on the table. But either way, find a good mentor, find good financial advice, keep learning new things. I know there's a couple of guys I went to school with that got good jobs and stayed with it. And I see them now on Facebook and they've retired out of their jobs and got a good pension. And it's like, congrats, guys. That is awesome. And I would be in that same boat if I didn't get let go 6 years after I got my apprenticeship. But it's just been a different journey, right? And I've learned so much along the way. And I would encourage anybody to keep learning, even if you are in the one job for 40 years. Keep pushing yourself, keep challenging yourself, keep finding something new because, well, I'm only 60. If I was retiring today, I wouldn't, hopefully I'd be wanting to do something else and challenge myself with something else. Um, make decisions quickly because we all have a paradigm, which is a set of habits and beliefs that control 96% of our results. And if you don't make decisions quickly, like you feel like, I think that's a good idea. I'm going to do that. Yeah, yeah, I'll wait till tomorrow to decide, or I'll wait till next week or next month or next year. Well, pretty soon, as soon as you decide to procrastinate or stop making the decision, that's when that set of beliefs steps in and the automatic steps in and says, Steve, what are you doing? You can't do that. Don't go challenging yourself with that. Sit back there and, go back to watching the game and yeah, don't worry about that stuff. That's not for you. Don't you worry about it. That's what your mind tells you. That's what that little voice in your head is saying. It's like, no, don't do that. You're going to get out of your comfort zone here. And I don't want to get out of my comfort zone. So, so make decisions quickly, focus on the one thing that you've made a decision on and stick with it. And then volunteer for something. Volunteer and give back to your community. Make sure that's a part of your go forward plan, especially if you've retired and you're wandering around looking for something to do. Um, I spoke to a gentleman the other day. He's retired for 5 years. He's 70 years old. He seems like he's in pretty good shape, but he's bored out of his mind. I said, do you volunteer for anything? He says, no, no, I don't want to volunteer for anything. And I just thought, wow, well, you're bored. I'm not sure what to tell you. But if you help someone else and you're grateful, you learn to be grateful if you're not already, and things will change for you. You won't have a boring, you won't be boring, hopefully, but everybody's different. Everybody got their own plan. Everybody's got their own way to doing things. But as I look back on my last 40 years of working history and, still looking for the next thing, it's been an exciting journey. And I invite anybody to come along because we're going to be doing some exciting things going forward. And I'm inviting you along. So hope you can make it. If you're bored, check it out. There's a lot more out there than you believe there is, and you can do a lot more. Don't let yourself be limited to your paradigm. You got to learn to look beyond that, and yeah, and just get happier with life and do what you want. And don't let anybody, like Stan Lee said, don't let an idiot get in the way of your idea. So find a mentor, get good financial advice, and keep learning new things. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next Thursday. Take care.